Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Louisa. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Having my first cup of tea of the day and feeling good. Really excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, me too. I'm really looking forward to this. So, like I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, the reason why I wanted to do this series was to just bring into focus people that have helped me on my own healing journey, and how that's impacted my understanding of self. And also just to talk to you a little bit about your own story and your own healing journey. And for anyone that doesn't know, this is Louisa Munson. She has the channel Feel Good Astrology on YouTube, which I highly recommend you check out, because the stuff that you put out is amazing, and you obviously spend a lot of time putting that out there into the this is sneaking in out there into YouTube. So thank you very much for that. So what I know about Louisa, everybody, is we met locally through a mutual friend.
Yeah.
And a mutual friend said to me, I met this girl the other day, you definitely like her, I think that you should meet up. And then she facilitated us meeting up. And I think from the first moment that I met you, I felt like there was a gnosis there, like we understood each other. And I felt like I probably knew you, I don't know, from a previous life or just on an energetic level, really.
Yeah.
And also that led into you helping me with my own astrology as well. So I just wanted to express a huge amount of gratitude for you for stepping in and helping me when I needed it without asking for anything in return. And I know I've been that person for people, but you definitely helped me in that terms. And the moments that I was in kind of crisis and trying to work out what was going on, you gave me, I don't know how to really describe it, but like a foundation of things that I could work with, and I could understand that some things were in my control and some things were out of it. And I think astrology does that really well. So do you just want to talk a little bit about yourself and like your background and how you got into astrology?
Sure. Well, before I do, I'd like to give you some thanks as well, actually, because if you don't mind, because our mutual friend, when she said, "Oh, you must meet Jenny," she was telling me about your podcast, you know, the podcasting that you've been doing with Richie Allen. And so I looked you up. So actually, before we even met, I'd listened to a couple of your streams with Richie Allen, and I was like, oh my God, I've got to meet this woman. She's amazing. And so, you know, when I met you, it was with that knowledge of your beautiful, deep and personal sharing on the Richie Allen show, but also your rich experience. And that fascinated me. So yeah, you're a massive gift yourself, just so you know.
Oh, thank you. But when I was having this moment a few weeks ago, it just kept coming to me. It was like, just gratitude, Jenny, gratitude. Because, you know, sometimes life can feel really hard, can't it?
Yeah, it can.
And you're in the job where you're helping people go through their own difficult times. And sometimes that can be distracting from our own stuff.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you know, in these healing journeys that, you know, everybody goes on, or they have the opportunity to go on. Some people might not on this lifetime, or they might not proceed through that, but usually it's precipitated by some major life event, or it's either falling in love or getting divorced or bereavement or illness. And I obviously see people at that point of illness, but that journey is not, you don't do that journey alone. You meet people along the way, or people that are already in your sphere that come in and kind of help you see things in a different way, or they just give you that little bit of love and support that you might need, or they might even just say one sentence to you. You know, I've quite often when I'm talking to people, they'll say, oh, this person once said this to me and it really just clicked something. And from my work now with using astrology as well, I think it's really helping me help other people pinpoint areas or themes or energy that might be involved in kind of their story. So that's where it came from. And I thought, well, who can I speak to? There's loads of people that I can speak to. There's probably people that I don't even have contact with anymore that I could talk about, like their involvement in how I learned more about myself and how that kind of worked. And also at the same time, so this was a few weeks ago, but also at the same time, all I could think about was Mary Magdalene and the feminine. I don't know why. I think I messaged you about this.
Yeah.
But over the last few years, I've been drawn into looking at Mary Magdalene, and I've been reading the Gospel of Mary, and the kind of everything that surrounds that. And essentially what she's telling people of the teachings of Jesus is that you have to know yourself. The gnosis is the thing, is understanding why you're here, your connection to a higher source or the divine, your purpose, and how sin is, there's no absolute sin. It's that the sin is the thing that knocks you off center, knocks you off course. So I kind of had this whole healing thing, like what is healing all about? And that actually sometimes the people that we come across in our lives are the ones that make us see things in a different way. And you definitely one of those people in my journey. So I'm eternally grateful for you for that. And for the work that you do as well.
Well, thank you. You were asking about my work. The funny thing is, I think we always end up doing the thing we need to do to heal ourselves. So, and that just becomes more and more obvious to me. The more I do the work I do, is I realize just how messed up I've been and how much more I need to let go of stuff. And the other thing about what I do as an astrologer is I get to, I don't know, in the relationship with the client I'm working with, you know, I often, you know, when I look at their chart and then I hear about what's going on for them, this upswelling of forgiveness and like this open, generous heart, like I feel so much compassion for them on their journey. And then in that moment, I realize how judgmental I am of myself. When I hear other people putting themselves down or really struggling with themselves and really judging themselves harshly, you know, my instinct is to support them like a mum or a sister would support them. And then in doing so, I realize just how rotten I am to myself. And so I'm learning so much from helping other people. It is one of those jobs that it just keeps on giving. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. So, you know, that is my practice, really. I do it to keep me sane. And, you know, there are times when I don't feel that sane. You know, I'm going through my Chiron return, which happens to people, you know, around the age of 49 to 51. I'm 50. So I'm just getting over my Chiron return, which is a huge astrological transit that helps you, I guess, recognize where you've been, recognize all those triggers that have been playing your whole life, and you get a real dose of it. It really comes up. And hitting the menopause at the same time. And so there have been times when I've just stopped working this year. And, you know, if I'm not feeling good, I won't work with anyone. And so, yeah, I have been starting a little bit, but I think there's something really nice about caring for people and finding a framework that allows you to do that. And astrology really just that. It captured me right from word go, Jenny. I mean, I was 6 when my mum told me I was born in between two signs. And I was like, oh, she said, oh, you're special. And yeah, that got me. I realized later I'm not born between two signs. I'm right at the tail end of Sagittarius, and I guess Capricorn starts 2 days later, but I'm close enough. And it just got my interest. And there've been times when I've fallen out with it as well. You know, I think it's really healthy, you know, the job that you do, the work that you do, what you feel called to do. I think it's really healthy to pull it into, you know, to doubt it sometimes, and to fall out with it and to stop it. And then you get called back into it by people. I've dropped it a couple of times in my life. Like, when was it? 10, 11 years ago, I had a miscarriage, and it was so shocking, you know, because I'd already had a child and I didn't think I was going to like lose a pregnancy. I just didn't expect it to happen. And when it happened, you know, this real sort of angry mum energy came up in me, and I was like, where is it in my chart? And I went on this deep dive to see where it was in my chart, and I couldn't see it right away. And I was like, well, this is obviously rubbish. And I dropped it in my anger and my grief. And then slowly, you know, life starts inviting me back in. You know, people contact me and say, oh, I got this problem. And then it wasn't until somebody with their own fertility issues got back in touch that all of a sudden I got the learning of it, and it pulled me back in. So it's a bit of a relationship.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think I've heard you say this before, is that you don't look at your own chart actually that much. So you're always looking at what the general kind of themes are, but you're not always in like consciously linking it to your own chart. You're thinking it like externally and other people and how that might link in with them. And
Yes.
I've had that a few times with my chart, where I've had something come up with a client that I've then looked at for them, and then I've gone back and looked at my own chart and realized that I've got a similar aspect or something going on.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, that's something else to learn about myself. But it seems to me that astrology is kind of, because it's changing all the time and it's always in flex, that there's always something new to learn when you look at your own chart or somebody else's. And you know, sometimes I'm sure you find it, and I'm nowhere near as an experienced astrologer as you, and obviously I focus very much on medical astrology, but sometimes I can look at a chart and think I've got a really good handle of it, then go away, something else happens, and then I come back and look at it again, and I was like, oh, okay, now I can see it. And really, what I like about astrology, so I know that you've been studying astrology for a long time, and I've probably been looking at astrology now seriously for about 4 or 5 years, maybe 5 years. But that, I don't know, people learn about astrology as just like what your sun sign is. And they dismiss it a lot because it's been so devalued, hasn't it? It's been like by Mystic Meg and things like that, or you will win the lottery and all those kind of things. But the understanding that there's so many aspects that you can consider in that. And I've grown in confidence. The more readings I'm doing, the more things I'm doing, I'm growing in confidence and being able to see things that link. And the feedback from clients is so nice, because for them to finally have some understanding about their psychological patterns, the area of life that they may be in, and then how that might resonate in their own body and their own health. It's just, it really helps pull them into that inner gnosis, I think.
Yes.
Which is what I think this work is really all about. It's helping people understand themselves, and in that journey we understand ourselves more by facilitating their journey a little bit. And I see myself, like, I know that we're called the Barefoot Healers and our focus is very much on healing, but I actually see myself more as a facilitator or a conduit to help, you know, transfer that energy so that they understand more. Is that how you see astrology?
Yeah, I mean, I see myself as a bridge. Like one of the things I've been learning, I formally started learning astrology when I was 19, and yeah, so it's ongoing. Like, I've never stopped. There are moments when I don't do it as much, but really for the last 15 years I've been full on with it. But yeah, I really think that it can be a really snobby specialty. And one of the things that I really I'm quite rebellious, and as a child I went to a posh school. Like, I went to the only mixed grammar school in Kent, and you know, I went to this school and they were priming us for Oxford and Cambridge and this, that and the other, and they were telling us we were the cream of the crop, and you know, we can do so much and we should be doctors and lawyers, and I really didn't like their snobbery at my school. I found it really difficult because I come from really working class roots, with no airs and graces. You know, I'm very, very normal. And so I found, you know, being in this environment of snobbery really hard. And, you know, I love astrology, and I find it easy to learn about, you know, because I'm quite academic. But the thing that I see, like, you're right, if people knew that it wasn't Mystic Meg and could see the applications of it right from word go, it would spread far and wide. And so as I've gone on through the years, I realized I just want to make it as accessible as possible. And so I want to demystify it, and I want to bridge the snobbery of the academia of astrology and make it so understandable that people who, you know, really aren't interested in woo-woo can absolutely understand it. Because I think that would really help people. I'd love for it to be taught in schools. I don't think that'll happen unless we start creating our own schools. But yeah, I really want to teach and share as far wide as possible.
I have a belief that it might happen, that we're going to look at things in a very different way, and that astrology might be one of the things that starts to come back into like public view again. And I've definitely seen a huge explosion in people interested in astrology. And actually, most people, when you talk to them about how it actually works, they then become interested in it and they want to know more. And people that will say, can you look at my charts for me? Or can you just have a quick look and see what's going on? And I think that if we are going to change the world, if the world is going to change, which I do have hope and belief that we are at a period where there is big change coming, and astrologically it kind of is suggesting that too, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And some new innovative changes in the way that we approach things, then maybe astrology might take a bit of a comeback, because as a parent, understanding the astrology of your own child can be quite helpful, can't it?
God, yeah. Oh my
you
goodness.
can understand their emotional patterns, the way they attach, the kind of exercise that they should be doing, the way that what kind of career paths they might be good with. And it's really interesting, isn't it? There's so many things that you can look at, so many different aspects of life, and the key really is in the interpretation and the observation of it, isn't it? It's like that's the art, the part of it. But I think from a very early age I was kind of interested in astrology and things like that, but never really knew how to access it. I'd never really knew where to start and where to go, but now there's so much content that you can really find your own way. And with my work and my background being in medicine, or nursing, I was always wanting to understand the science behind everything. But I always had questions like, why is it that some people in the same family get sick, but they get sick in different body parts? So they have the same external environment, the same genetics, but one might have a heart attack and the other one might have endometriosis, or and there's differences and why that is. And medical astrology explains quite a lot of that, really. But that I can now balance both. I can look at both things. So now when I'm looking at clients, I'm not looking at their astrology anymore. Even if they don't explicitly want me to look, I will look, because I know that it will give me pointers and save a lot of time. And I've been so blown away by the accuracy of it, and how it manifests in someone's life, and which herbs might be suitable, or which supplements, or even which dietary kind of approach might be helpful, rather than kind of going in blind or spending a lot of money on tests, on functional medicine. And I had a client recently who I'd kind of worked out what I think was going on, and then we did some testing as well, and that testing confirmed what was already there in the chart. And I was talking to Carl Jung the other day. I was watching one of his old lectures, and he openly used astrology for his most difficult psychotherapy clients, because he felt that could give him quicker insight than hours and hours of psychotherapy would be able to look and kind of analyze their chart. So I do think there is going to be a bit of a resurgence and I think that people are being drawn to it because they remember it ancestrally, perhaps. Like they know that in the past that has been something that's been in their sphere. Now it's coming back. But I totally get what you're saying about snobbery, because I think there's a little bit like that in the spiritual community too.
Yes, definitely.
There's like a lot of pomp, isn't there? And
absolutely.
And
the working class girl in me just doesn't want to entertain academia at all. I'm so sorry, because I can see that there is really a space for people who study academically and move disciplines forwards. And I guess there is a part of me that would like to move astrology forwards, but right for now I see that there's a really good application to reach as many people as possible. I mean, for years, I did think about becoming an astrologer right from leaving school, but I didn't have the guts to, because honestly, when I, like at that time, I was dating a guy for 11 years and his family were all really strong Christians, and they looked at it as if it was, blasphemous. I've had a few different family members and people around me who've been very strong Christians that had a really bad reaction to it. And that really stopped me in my tracks, because I've never thought of myself as a conduit of the devil. I've always thought of myself as a conduit of helping people. And I also think this has always been in my nature. But essentially, I mean, like for a long time, I was reading the charts And, you know, when I first started learning about astrology in my teens, before I started studying it, I was also learning palmistry and cards, graphology, anything that I could learn that would give me an understanding of other people was absolutely what I was fascinated by. And I realized that they're all just portals. You know, like I would learn the lines of a hand, but eventually I would see the hand, I would look at the lines, and then just as I recognized something about the lines, I would be drawn into the hand. It was like the hand opened up to me. And the same thing happens with birth charts, but that was something that came when I learned confidence in my own intuitive ability. So like with astrology, it's a language that I understand, but mostly I'm now really just, I don't know, becoming the astrology. It's like all of a sudden, I don't know, it's like I'm sucked into the chart like a portal, and I understand it, and I feel like I could play around with it. I can see different things. But the time wasn't right. And so I went into all sorts of different career paths. You know, I became a trainer for big business, which I love, training and helping people and teaching and stuff and making it fun. But, you know, working for big business never suited me. And so it's only really in the last 15 years that it really opened up to me as a career path. And I think that's, you know, because people started to see the use of it. And then during COVID, you know, that whole phenomenon of people being in fear, all of a sudden people were crying out for it. You know, people were really looking for reason and for reassurance. And I think that's, you know, what I really aim to give people is reassurance through my work. You know, I'm helping them find their way ahead, but I'm also taking them by the hand a little bit. I think that's just my style. And so it really just came on from then. And now when you look at, you know, the current placements, you know, Pluto going into Aquarius is huge. You know, it had been dancing around there from March 2023, going in and out of Aquarius. Now it's in Aquarius permanently for the rest of its duration. And then Uranus is going into Gemini. It's going into Taurus later on this week, but it'll be back into Gemini. These two air signs, you know, are absolutely very much about information and sharing. Aquarius is really the astrologer's, you know, this it's the astrologer's sign. And of course, one of the rulers of Aquarius is Uranus. And so it's like we've got these two very strong motifs of astrology coming into their own right now. And of course, there's loads of apps, and we've got AI that's also helping people to teach and learn themselves. So it's going to get really crazy now, I think. I think one of the problems we might have to learning is, how do we know that it's a good source that we're getting the information from, and how do we sift through it? Because there's going to be so much. But yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. I'm very excited.
And there's also like a lot of the knowledge that we have from astrology is quite old, isn't it? You know, like it's, but we're moving into a new generation of astrology as such, because like you say, we've got Pluto moving into Aquarius, and then we've also got Uranus changing signs, and is Neptune just changed signs?
Oh yeah, Neptune.
Yeah. So and Saturn just
next year, and then the North Node's going to go into Aquarius as well next year.
Yeah.
So it's nuts. It's just totally nuts. May I just also say thank you so much for studying medical astrology, because I really see the use of that, but I don't have your amazing medical background. So, you know, I'm really interested in studying it, but I could never study it to the level that you could understand it because of your background. But we need people like you that do. So I'm going to be using you a lot. I'm going to be referring people to you.
Yeah, well, I'm still evolving with like my practice, obviously, and I suppose that's a good thing, because things are always changing, and every single person is different, right? So some people want lots of information and they deep dive and they absorb it, and then other people can sometimes be a little bit scared by it. And so I'm having to use my skills to try and understand the person as well. But actually, the astrology charts can help with that too. Definitely. Because I know that if I've got a Virgo rising or a Virgo 6th house, for example, that they will be really interested in knowing a lot of details, and they'll probably follow things to the letter, and they'll do what you suggest. But then I've got some Aries clients that are very strong Aries, and I found that they're quite impatient, and they just want to change things and they want to do things, and if something doesn't work within a few days, they're ready to flip it and they want to, you know. So even just from that perspective, it helps me understand how I can be as a practitioner. And I've done a lot of natal chart stuff, so I've kind of, I think I'm nailing that now. But now I'm looking a bit more at like decumbiture charts and also consultation charts. But the decumbiture charts are good.
What are they? Explain what that is.
So a decumbiture chart is what they used to use in like the 17th century Renaissance kind of period, that if someone was ill because they didn't often have a birth time or even sometimes a date, they could use the date and time that the person fell ill. So they use that as the chart. And then the first house is all about the person, the patient. The 6th house is the illness. The 7th house is my role as a practitioner.
Oh, wow.
The house is medicines that might be helpful.
What house is the medicines?
Sorry, the 10th.
The 10th
is the medicines. So then you can look at things and see, you know, what dynamics are in play for that position. And if you have a natal chart too, then that can be also really helpful. And then like you can also do a consultation chart, which I presume you sometimes do, which is that you take the chart of the time and date of the consultation that you're having with the person. And it's the same.
Sometimes like when a client contacts me for the first time, like with their question, asking for the consultation, I always think that's such a strong time, because all of a sudden they've reached out. I think that's a really good time. I always note the time that, and thank goodness we have emails, because I see the time, the date it comes in.
And in the old days, I don't know if you've heard of Marcus Patchett. He's a medical astrologer, but he's a very traditional, uses very traditional. He's brilliant. He's very eccentric, but he's very smart. But he talks about the time that the urine was first presented to the doctor.
Wow.
So in the 17th century, doctors had to be trained in astrology to become a physician, which I didn't know this. I had no idea about this until a few years ago. And obviously that just became more and more out of practice. But yeah, part of it was they did a lot based upon the astrological chart and the urine. They used the urine as a diagnostic. And they could do a chart on the time that the urine was presented to the practitioner. But yeah, it's really interesting. But before we came on, we were starting to talk a little bit about ancestral and things like that. So maybe we can just touch on that a little bit. But I've had a deep desire to look into my ancestral line. And this also seems to spike and trough a little bit. I was looking at my own great Auntie Mary the other day, and she was a Methodist lay preacher. She was a headmistress. She never married. And I only ever remember her kind of seeming old. She died when she was 93.
Everyone seems old when you're a kid.
I know. But she was the kindest, sweetest, nicest person you could ever wish to meet. I never saw her raise her voice. I never saw her have any kind of friction with anybody. And I was looking at some stuff about her the other day, because we have Methodist preachers that's in my masculine father line. That went over to the West Indies, into the Caribbean, and they were spreading the word of God, really, which is quite interesting, because everybody since her, nobody since my Auntie Mary has really taken that on. In fact, all that family line are not that religious at all, which is quite interesting. And I was also looking at my female line, because the same stories repeat. They seem to repeat with different females in the family. And I'm going to share my screen with you now, because I think you'll find this quite interesting, and then we can talk a bit more about what you were saying about ancestry. If I can find my share the screen button. So this is my great grandmother on my female side, but it was the mother of my grandfather. So can you see that? Has it come up yet?
Oh yeah. 90 years
apart.
I need to make my screen bigger.
Let me just go back to this one. So
wow.
This is
I love
her.
those photos.
Yeah. So but apparently she wasn't a very nice person. But
I'm just making my screen bigger. If anything goes wonky with our recording, let me know, okay?
Okay.
Oh, it's not letting me do it. I can't do it.
Let's I'm just going to try and present.
Okay, hang on.
I'm going to try present it as full screen.
Oh, I'm going to look really close at the screen.
So these are in whole sign, obviously. I know that you like to work with Placidus, don't you? But
no, that's fine.
Is it coming up?
I can't see it yet.
So yeah, this is her. Her name was Ellen. So my birthday is the 24th of August, and her birthday is the 28th. I think it says there. Of August, and she has a Scorpio rising with her Mars and Jupiter quite close together. They're within 1 degree. And I'm a Scorpio rising, but I don't have Mars or Jupiter in my first house. I have Uranus quite close to my ascendant, and opposite my moon. And she's also got her ascendant and moon in Taurus in the 7th house, which is the same as me. And then she's got this 11th house. Sorry, Virgo.
And Virgo.
And then she's got the Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in the sign of Virgo in the 11th house. And what I found out about my great grandmother was that she only had one child, which is my grandfather, and he was a 13-pound baby.
Oh my word!
She nearly died having him. So her job was
that's going to make you grumpy.
Yeah, and she actually kicked out her husband after that and never was in a relationship again. She was just fully focused on work. And she was a midwife and she was a chiropodist. But what ended up happening was her sister, who couldn't have children, ended up raising my grandfather. So he wasn't raised. And that energy has continued through my family line, where mothers have had children that they haven't been able to look after themselves, and a family member has stepped in and done that himself. And apparently her sister was actually a really nice person. She was a really nice woman. But I look at her charts and I think, oh God, she's got Mars and Jupiter in Scorpio. It probably made her very scorpionic, didn't it? And probably quite aggressive, and like how she pushed forward with things and how she lived her life. But I think the greatest thing that I've noticed about mine and her charts is that I've always felt this pull between family life and work. And how difficult that has been to manage with my desire to just want to be a mum and be at home and take care of the kids, with this very strong desire to want to be excelling in a field, especially within health and things like that. So this is her chart. Let me just show you them side by side. Apparently, when she retired from midwifery and chiropody, she took to her bed, to her chair, and she never did anything for herself ever again, apparently. Which then ended up falling to my grandmother, who had married my grandfather, obviously, and she ended up having to take care of her at the same time as taking care of 7 kids. So yeah, that was a bit of a difficult energy, but you can see we've got similar kind of aspects in our chart. I mean, she's got Uranus in her 12th house, and
my shape of your charts. Like all of your planets. I'm using my mouse, even though you can't see my mouse, but my mouse is going all over, like the top side of both of your charts, and the slope of the ascendants. There's a real similarity. I mean, your sun in the 10th house, it's
in my 11th. It is in the 11th. Yeah, it's just.
Oh,
yeah. But this is in the whole sign, obviously. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
But like it looks, I mean, there's a lot of similarities there, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
And when I'm looking at ancestral patterns, I often find there are certain degrees that repeat throughout family lines, and seeing your Pluto Venus, your Mars Pluto Venus conjunction, and then her Uranus is really strong. So like my Pluto is my mum's Neptune, my dad's Neptune and Mars. and it goes back. I've seen like this degree just show up again and again and again. And other things I see with family patterns is like my mum and I have both got Mars Neptune connections. So you'll find there might be pairs of planets that show up between you and your relatives. But seeing, your big three in the same signs is a pretty big thing. Do you know what? I've only worked with one person that's got the same big three as me, so Scorpio, and in the same order, like they had Scorpio rising, they had Sagittarius sun and moon in Pisces. And it was really lovely, actually, to work with someone with exactly the same big three as you. It just felt so normal and easy. And we were just giggling the whole time. It felt really quite uplifting. But yeah, the level of focus with this Scorpio rising, and the Virgo midheavens with your Virgo suns, and also your moons really close to the yours is right on your descendant, isn't it, in the sign of Taurus? Yeah, totally see that.
And also she had some kind of unconventional relationship kind of ideals, I suppose, then, because she ended up like not taking care of her own children, and she ended up being a working female, she was born in 1888, so she was born in almost exactly 90 years before I was. And we have got other nurses and medical professions in that side of the family. But I think it's interesting that also we've both got Chiron at 9 degrees. I mean, it's like her Chiron's in Taurus. No, my Chiron's in Taurus. Her Chiron is in Cancer. And there was that struggle with her, obviously, eventually being a mother. And I don't know whether it was because
both of your north nodes are at 28 degrees as well.
Oh yeah.
Hers in Cancer, yours in Virgo.
Yeah.
These aren't accidents.
No. Well, and I kind of feel like her struggles, I think she was probably quite misunderstood. And I think she probably was quite tricky looking at her chart. Apparently she was quite mean. Like my mum said, they were quite poor. They were like dirt poor, but she had money, obviously, because she worked. But she wouldn't help out her own son and her own grandchildren. And she would send them to the shops to go and get her things like ham and stuff like that. And then when my mum came back, she has this memory of the grandma giving her the fat off the ham, not the ham, just the fat. And then she'd hold on to it tightly and kind of withdraw it from her until she was so grateful that she was giving her a bit of, So I think she was quite mean. And then obviously she didn't really have that much to do with her own son. Her own son was raised by her sister, who was wonderful. So, obviously that worked out quite well. But it's funny because my son, my firstborn son, who is a Scorpio moon, he reminds me very much of my granddad. So I don't know, it's almost like, are there like reincarnations, and are we just reincarnating down the same family line to learn the lessons? Was I her in a previous life? I don't know, because nursing always came very easy to me. It was like I always knew I wanted to be a nurse, and my mum said I was fascinated with like birthing videos or stories and things like that. And I never went into midwifery. I did do placements as a student, but it wasn't something I really wanted to do, was midwifery. But I don't know, it's like an answer to, whether it's just it is in the genetics, isn't it? We have that imprinting down family lines, but whether astrology can explain that a bit more.
Well, some people say that like a birth chart is like your cosmic DNA. One thing that I really noticed about this is why you're not as badass as her. And sorry, I'm using my mouse as if you can see it, and I know you can't, but so on the left hand chart, which is her chart, around about 3 o'clock, at the midway line, if you go up, you've got the sun, you've got the moon, and you've got Lilith within a degree of each other, and that really, I think, shows a lot of repressed anger. Maybe not so repressed, but the thing that sort of releases it is this opposition, almost in exact opposition to Mars in the sign of Scorpio, like 21 degrees to Lilith at 22 degrees. It's quite explosive. And with the moon there, like Lilith really shows us where there's a side of us that we can't really be, where we have to keep ourselves hidden, and where we feel denied, where we feel like we have to squeeze ourselves in a box. I suspect that, she maybe felt more like a man. I'm not suggesting that she was, but like she's got these skills and this temperament to be able to do what a man can do, and to sort of take charge and actually probably help people find comfort. But I imagine that her role that she was doing back then would have been very difficult to do, you know, to be seen for who she was. And yeah, Mars right on the ascendant is really, really dynamic, but that opposition to the moon and Chiron is insane. It's really intense. I'm seeing if anything else is playing into it. Not as tight as that, but I mean that is a really sort of difficult thing. I love that her moon and Chiron are exactly in a sextile as well. I think that's pretty special. Like her moon her Mercury at 9 degrees Virgo is in a sextile with her Cancerian 9-degree Chiron. So it's like, you know how I was describing how I look at a chart and I feel like I become the astrology.
Yeah.
You know, I think she probably looked at the body and it was talking to her. She could see it.
Yeah. Well, there's obviously I never met her, but my mum said that she always said that she lost babies, but she never lost a mother. And that was like her claim to kind of fame, was that she never lost a mother, and that she was obviously very serious about her job. She was obviously very good at it as well. And you know, whether she was given much credit for that, or I don't know, probably not in those days. Probably it wasn't that much of a thing.
I wonder how many babies got lost at that time.
Yeah.
I guess you have to toughen up.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. It's interesting you were talking about ancestry, because I've been watching a lot of these DNA family reunited type programs. Don't know why it is actually, but at the moment it's just this huge thing, like belonging. And I think it's because astrologically, maybe this is the astrology again playing out with so many the outer planets, the slow moving planets that really set our generations. They're, you know, moving in between signs. And they're all at like the end of one sign. So it's like the end of one story and the beginning of a new story. I think it's creating a lot of anxiety in people, and people are really needing to know where they belong, where they fit in. And if you think about news as it's reported to us, we're hearing about so much human displacement all over. And so I just think there are very few people that are actually born anywhere where they absolutely know their parents, know where they belong, and they've maybe got like 3 generations belonging in that place. It's really rare now. And so, behind the scenes, while I've been working on charts, like, you know, it takes quite a long time to create loads of charts and write some notes before I actually start doing consultations. I've had these videos in the background. I've been listening to them, and it's very sad hearing about how many babies born out of wedlock were just automatically put up for adoption, because there wasn't the way, like so much poverty as well. You know, women who were in poverty that were kicked out by their parents because they had illegitimate children. And then these teen girls were sometimes, you know, put into those mother and baby units, those like, and then their babies were snatched from them. And then I heard about in Romania and also in Spain with stolen babies. I was shocked by that, you know, to hear that this, you know, in Spain for well over a couple of decades, and for a couple of decades in Romania, women were giving birth and the babies were being taken away straight away. And then the nurse came back and said, sorry, your baby didn't make it. And they had fake burials without the people knowing. They just said, oh, we'll do it all for you, we'll do all the paperwork. And then later on, because of, you know, DNA analysis, people have been trying to find out who they belong to, and they're realizing that these babies were snatched. Babies were a commodity, and it's clear, you know, like I haven't lost any babies, but I've kept all my women. To me, that's an indication that babies probably weren't as revered. They were seen as maybe senseless little things.
Yeah.
Of course, we're in times now where we recognize the like magic of babies.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of hurt that's happened. And then with the wars as well, I think the people that were doing these important jobs back then, obviously your great grandmothers, like sort of pre those wars, but they've seen a lot of pain and suffering.
Yeah, and it feels far removed probably from quite a lot of us. I mean, it's still, obviously those things still go on
still, yeah.
And still horrific stuff is happening, and people are forced to give up children for adoption, or I'm sure babies are being farmed and stolen, and you know, I'm sure that still happens. But also that I feel like at the moment what a lot of people are doing that are going through this kind of healing, remembering process is that they're actually healing their family line as well, their ancestral line too. And that's why I think astrology and having dates of even like parents or grandparents and things is actually quite nice to look at. And I do think that probably patterns are repeating, and maybe we're coming to a point collectively, not just individually, but collectively, where we are able to honor our ancestors and heal the struggles that they've been through. You know, because when my mum says she was mean, I think, well, yeah, she might have been mean, and she might have been quite bolshy and things like that, but I'm sure she must have really had a good heart under there, because she wouldn't have been doing the job that she was doing. You know, she was taking care of mothers and babies and people's feet. She wouldn't have been doing that if she didn't want to. She didn't have to work.
Feet, but like, who wants to work with?
Not me. Not me. I've got a bit of an aversion to feet, actually. But yeah, no, I think that having that understanding that also our ancestors must have gone through so many struggles themselves to get there, and she must have been a really dynamic woman in those days to have gone
probably
into that.
People probably
revered, definitely. But all I know about really that side of the family is that my mum said, my aunt has been doing the family tree actually, but my mum said that she was actually one of 14, and they came over from Ireland, but she only knows about her and her sister. My mum doesn't know anything else about the other 12, about what happened to them, whether they died young, whether they were shipped somewhere else, or what happened to them. See, I have no idea what kind of trauma she had framing her energy, right? Like, we just don't know what she went through. And you know, my granddad had a terrible time. He was in the Navy. He was on 3 different ships in the Navy, and twice he got discharged, once medically discharged and once because he was behaving badly, and he got sent to land. And both times he got sent to land during that, both the ships got hit. So he had like this trauma, kind of a lot of trauma with that. And then when he was quite young, he used to get a lot of migraines, which my mum also then suffered with a lot of migraines as well. And because he had to take so much aspirin for his migraines, he developed a bleeding ulcer, and he lost most of his stomach. So after a certain point, he couldn't work. He could hardly eat anything because he only had a tiny little stomach. But he did live until he was in his 80s. But I think about that now, and I think I wish I could have talked more to him about how, like, the whole dynamics of through history impacted him, that then impacted my mum, that then impacted us, that then impacted probably my children, like this theme that's gone through our ancestral line. Anyway, I'm going to turn that off.
I mean, this is just so fascinating to me, because, you know, I was wondering, like, why am I so almost addicted to these programs? And I think it's because it's opening me up to greater compassion. I'm ready for it. I mean, I'm just weeping in between working with clients, but not in a crazy way, but in a, wow, I'm coming into much greater compassion and loving kindness. But you mentioned, you know, how similar your charts were, and they are really similar. I do think that things that get trapped in our DNA get passed down to the next and the next and next, until somebody is ready to face it. And Gabor Mate talks about it, doesn't he? You know, how people's I might get this wrong and you can correct me, but like nervous systems, people's nervous systems are registering what's happened generations ago. And we're born into that crisis. And I think astrology can absolutely help. And thank goodness you're doing what you're doing. What's really fascinated me also is how people can be separated at birth. And through the course of their life, things happen that bring them back together at certain times. And I just, you know, having looked at the charts of parents adopted children and parents and real children, I can see that whoever is going to be your parent, they will have a chart that matches yours, because when somebody joins a family, there is always something that is linking you. It just doesn't happen that, like, without that. You know, I've not seen a parent with a completely disconnected chart with their kids. And now, is it the DNA that's bringing people together, or is it the chart? Like, for instance, I was watching one of these family reunion things with this kid. He was adopted and he was really good at football, loved American football, really, really good, got a sponsorship, went off to some university on his scholarship, and was training underneath this really good trainer, became almost like really professional, like, was he in the Olympics or something? I don't know. He was like at the top of his game. He went through a DNA process only to find out that his coach was actually his biological father.
Wow.
You know, and there were a case of two identical twin boys separated at birth, accidentally separated at birth. They were born in the same hospital. So two identical set of boy twins, and the mums went home with one of each boys without meaning to.
Oh my God.
So there were two parents who took home their non-identical twin boys.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they went into different parts of, I think this is in Mexico, they went into different parts of their world, their country. And then around the time that they were all going, like, the two that grew up in a wealthy family, they went off to university, and they happened to be going to the university in the town of where the poor kids lived. And so one day the poor kid, like, sorry to say rich and poor, but that's just how it seemed in this video. So this poor kid's working in a shop, I think behind the fish counter or the butcher counter. And this woman comes in, this young lady comes in and says, "What are you doing there? You're at university. Why are you working here?" And he's like, "I don't know what you mean." And there was this sort of conversation. She was so incredulous. She took a photo of him and said, "What's your name?" And she looked him up on Facebook and said to her friend, "You've got to check out this guy. He is dead ringer of you, but says he's not." So they looked it up on Facebook, and then when they were Facebook stalking him, recognized that he had a twin brother who was the exact spit of his own twin.
Yeah.
You were like, "Oh my God, how did that happen?"
Yeah.
And so it's like, but how did that get resolved? Something, was it their birth charts? Was it their DNA? But something was pulling them together. It's that quantum entanglement.
Yeah. It's have you heard of the same story with the triplets?
No.
So there was in America, I think it's called Identical Strangers, or Three Identical Strangers.
Oh my God, I'm going to watch this.
It's on Netflix. It's really sad. It's quite traumatic. But there was obviously a woman that had three identical triplets.
Yeah.
And they got adopted out as part of an experiment in different socioeconomic groups to see this whole nature nurture.
Oh, my heart hurts already.
I know, and this was in like the 1940s, late 40s, early 50s, and so one was raised in a high socioeconomic group, one in a middle, and one in a poor socioeconomic group, and they didn't tell the adopted parents either that they were one of triplets. So those adopted parents took the babies home, not knowing that that baby was actually one of triplets. I mean, how awful must have that been for the baby? Like, they wouldn't have known it at the time, but you know,
always feeling a part of themselves missing.
Yeah.
I just really want to smack the people that funded that and the person that came up with the idea. I just want to go like this.
I know, it's awful. And then they followed them up, and they did like different tests and stuff on them throughout their kind of childhood. So they knew that they'd been involved in this kind of like almost experiment, but they had no idea that they was because they were part of triplets. And then one of them went to university and happened to bump into one of his triplets. Like, the same thing happened where someone said, you know, like, there's two of you kind of on campus. So obviously it became quite like a famous story. And then, so this was in the 70s or 80s. And then the third triplet was watching the news and saw and was like, "Oh my God, that is like my identical twin." So then they realized that there was three of them, and then it follows them through their whole recognition of what had happened to them, about their stories and things like that. One of them was an alcoholic and ended up dying. They all opened a restaurant together, and they became quite famous because of their story. But it was very sad. The whole story is very sad. But like you say, it's like, is it something astrologically that's happening now that's able for people to like learn these stories about themselves?
Absolutely.
And the technology that's happening? So, you know, I know somebody that found out that she had a cousin that was on the other side of the world, which meant that you know, the parentage of someone in her family line wasn't correct, but they didn't know that because those persons have died. They only found that out because of DNA testing.
We are coming in. We are in the times of disclosure.
Yeah,
it's all coming out now, and the horror of decisions that people have made to like experiment, and it's all coming out. And I think the nature of humans is to care for each other.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's why these programs are so important, because we're all shocked. You know, humans are kind, and there's it's really weird to hear about people doing experiments like that.
Isn't it? Because you think that how can the researchers never have thought this isn't right?
Yeah.
Like I don't, the Milgram experiment, that bugged me. And I think that they didn't tell those participants that they weren't actually hurting the other person. So for anybody that doesn't know about the Milgram experiment, go and look it up, because it actually explains a lot about human behavior.
It does,
doesn't it? It's like, especially over the last few
authority.
years. Yeah, and authority, exactly, and how we can bend and forget our core, like being like that heart, isn't it? It's like, I can't comprehend how anyone would actually willingly want to try and hurt somebody for science, like, or just hurt anybody at all. But I do think that maybe that is just part of this elevation of consciousness that's happening. I was watching something about the witch trials the other day.
Oh gosh, that really gets me going.
I know. But it kind of all stemmed from this Mary Magdalene, looking at Mary Magdalene teachings and stuff like that, and the feminine, and how I think the last 2,000 years have been a war on the feminine, really. Essentially, we talk about all
I really notice that there's a separation of family, like destroying the family and destroying the mother-child bond. I think is a crime.
Yeah.
I really do. And like money has been used to keep us all separate, and economics, you know, forcing, like, you know, the fact that people had to give up their babies because they couldn't afford to eat is terrible. But like, I'm really not going to sound like a feminist at all. Like, if people hear this, they might get a bit offended, but I think, you know, it's really natural for mums to really want to care for their babies. And I think we've learned, you know, I hear you when you say the feeling of tension between wanting to look after your babies versus going and doing a professional career that you know you're meant to do, like your passion. And I think there's this real split. Like, I think a mum's authority on her child is really important, and yet so many mums have learnt to trust authority sources outside of their own mum consciousness.
Yeah. Well, it's like we've been pulled away from that, isn't it?
Yeah, this is just like one story that I find really difficult. Like, as a child, I couldn't really sleep. I found it really hard to sleep, and I was always afraid, and I could never work it out. But right from word go, I was put into a bedroom on my own. Like, the very first night I was born, I was put in a cot in a bedroom on my own. And apparently that was because my dad didn't like the sniffling or the noise I was making as I was breathing as a newborn baby. And I don't understand. I was like, that is so I don't know, alien to me. I can't understand how, like, when you've had a baby inside you, that you could even bear to be separate from your child. There's some mum instincts that kick in.
Yeah, but it's almost like his authority over getting a good night's sleep was always considered more important than the attachment that you would then, you know, that distance you'd have from your mother. Like,
when they joked about it, I was horrified. I couldn't believe my parents would have done that. And I don't mean to say that to judge anyone that might be listening, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's quite common to put people in, like, babies in cots, sort of in the same room, but I never thought, like, being separate, like a few rooms away, that just feels really bizarre, because like we're like mammals, aren't we? We are mammals. And when you look at mammals, mums and their babies, they're all huddled together. They all have a big old like sleep in, don't they?
Yeah.
Cuddle up together, and that's the natural way. And yet humans have forgotten. And the fact that mums have forgotten, to me, is a shocking thing.
Yeah, but I definitely
see exactly how it's happened, because we've been told that, you know, babies are manipulative. You know, from word go.
Well, I do think like this whole, if we are going to heal, we have to go to women that are going to become mothers first. That's like the first thing we need to do. And I've noticed that sometimes when I talk about like the feminine and Mary Magdalene, and you know, the whole thing of like Mary Magdalene, seems to me that the apostles, the male apostles, wouldn't accept initially, especially Peter, who the whole Catholic Church was then built on. He couldn't accept initially that Jesus could have passed on knowledge to her as a woman, because she was a woman. And you know, the whole Catholic Church has been about squashing the woman, really, hasn't it, and controlling. And you know, that men sometimes get a little bit triggered when you talk about this, but I don't think that we should divide it into a physical presentation of who we are on this planet. Like, we are female, we are feminine presenting, and we have that energy for sure, but we all have masculine and feminine in us. And every single person on this earth was birthed through a mother. Like every single person, whether you're a male or a female, we all came through a mother. We all inhabited a mother, and we all entered the world through a mother, whether it was through cesarean or through natural birth. So I do feel like healing the feminine, the ones that are going to or planning to become mothers, is a good place to start, because if they're given the right support, and they have the strong attachments to the children, and they're able to provide what a child needs, then that child goes into society as a much more rounded, healed individual from the start. You know, we all
hurt other people, you know, like the hurt people.
Exactly. So I just, you know, I went to the doctors yesterday, as I said to you, because I've been having a couple of issues that I just really wanted to go and get some blood tests and not have to pay for them. And I know that the issues that I'm having are related to my feminine menstrual cycle, and the fact that I'm entering perimenopause. And he didn't, I was talking to him, and I could see that it was just kind of going over his head. And he's like, that's not my first working hypothesis, is what he said. And I was like, well, it is mine, because I know my cycle, and I know that I feel completely fine for these 3 weeks, and then this week something's going on, and I'm not quite sure what it is. Well, obviously it's hormones that are changing. But he just didn't seem to have any kind of clear understanding. And then I was thinking about the whole medical kind of service. It's so masculine, isn't it? It's like you go into a hospital, there's nothing feminine and nurturing about a hospital at all. Like everything's white and LED lights and sterile, and you know, as it, you know, some parts should be, but there's no comfort in hospital. There's not even the food is not.
No, definitely not. I mean, the comfort that I've found when I have been in, like, I had 2 hospital births and I had a home birth, and the comfort I found was in the women around me. I was very fortunate enough to have beautiful midwives, and they provided that sisterly, motherly energy.
That we all need.
We can't underestimate. But like, you're right. I mean, you know, anywhere else I've experienced is a real sort of like holy masculine energy, and it's really yangy, and it's really not conducive to healing at all.
No, not at all. So I do think that this theme of ancestral healing, and feminine kind of rising, and it actually ties back into kind of thinking about astrology, was, I don't know, it was probably about 7 years ago, a friend of mine said that she didn't know what was going to be happening. She's an astrologer as well. She's a Portuguese astrologer. She didn't know what was going to be happening, but that astrologically we're going from a patriarchal society into more of a matriarchal society, and that this period that we're having now is like this final death of this fight and this competition, when actually what we need to be is in harmony. But to do that, there's going to be a lot of healing that needs to happen first, individually and then collectively. And, you know, we're only going to heal collectively if we heal individually and actually face our fears, face our shadows, understand our own thought patterns and our emotions and our reactions and all of those things. Only then can we move forward into kind of that more feminine matriarchal society. And I don't know whether, like, you know, we might be seeing it a little bit happening, but interesting. I don't know what your balance of clients are in terms of male and female. I'm actually getting quite a lot of males reaching out asking for astrology insights.
That's great. I would say 85% female.
Yeah.
And then when I get men, it's really great. I mean, I love working with women, and, you know, I mean, this is where most of my healing has come from, actually, is from working with people. You end up healing yourself. My good friend Dee, who I keep meaning to introduce you to, you know, she was a loving kindness coach, and I've learned so much from her. And she just says coaching and working with clients is like buy one, get one free.
Yeah.
She's so right. But it's mostly women. And it's helped me to become more of a sister.
Yeah.
I realized my sister energy was really low. I do have a sister, but we're like chalk and cheese, and we don't really understand each other, and we're not really in each other's lives. And there's no malice, but we've never had a very strong sisterly bond. And I realized since I've become a mum, which is 14 years, just 2 days ago, I realized I've become a sisterly woman. And I never had that before. But since I've been a mum, I've been gathering amazing, strong sisters around me. And it's taken me a long time to realize there was some gift in that. I was always a very sort of like masculine kind of woman, surrounded by kind of men and, you know, kind of seriousness, like yang, do, and not BBB, which is more of the feminine thing. But I do get men coming to me, and I love being trusted by a man. I can see why men would consult you, because I think they would get that sort of compassion from you that they might not feel comfortable getting from a man.
Yeah. Well, I think also, like, if they're coming for a medical reason, like a physical reason, and then they're more open to it, to kind of like then discuss what energetics might be at play, and where, you know, some of their core wounds might be, or where their processes are, or even, you know, down to how they metabolize things and stuff like that. But you were saying about the woman sisterly thing, and it is, I feel the same way. Like, I feel like in the last maybe 10 years, I've found a lot of females that I really resonate with. And it's like I automatically just know you, and there's no drama, there's no stress, there's nothing history or anything like that. But Bo and I have started a healing circle every month. We did our first one.
Lovely.
We did our first one last month, and two of the women that were in the group actually said that they felt quite repulsed by the fact that it might be all women, because they don't feel like they're a woman's woman, and they've had such bad experiences with other women that kind of the thought of being in a room with 9 other women, you know, talking about things, but actually they opened up so much, and they, you know, I think it was really like they just felt safe, and it was really beneficial. It was really nice. If you get a chance, come along, because we did some Reiki and some meditation, and we just talked about stuff. And it's not actually exclusively for women. It's just happened to be that the first month there was no men that showed up, but they can come. It's not a problem. But I do think that we almost need to really focus on healing the feminine within us, whether we are male or female. And that's where we need to start. You know, that's where this work that we're doing, and hopefully what's going on all over the place, is that's going to start. Like, I think that women need to be able to recognize that their softness and their kindness is a gift, you know, really. And we don't have to harden ourselves to fit into this masculine world, which I think a lot of us have had to do over the years. We've had to do things that have been rules that have been set by the patriarchy, isn't it?
Like you know, I've met your lovely mum, and she's lovely, and you guys are great friends, and, you know, my mum's lovely too. I think a lot of the competitiveness or the disconnect between women and women, I think, has come on, especially in women who are maybe fast tracked through intellectual schools, you know, women who've been primed for careers. You know, like when I was growing up, my mum said, "Oh, you're the intelligent one." That wasn't what I wanted to hear, actually. But you know, like there were these kind of ideas that we were going to be strong women, and I think that pitted us against each other a little bit. And I was never comfortable with it. But we were always taught that we needed to compete in a man's world.
Yeah.
And actually, it's our world. It's everyone's world. I want to touch on Mary Magdalene. I love the fact that you're diving into that, and I love the idea that there was this kind of communion, like this connection between male and female, and like this love. But Mary, like the name Mary, like, you know, I've lived in France, spent a bit of time in Italy. Now we're living in Portugal, been here 8 years, as you know, and I've always lived near the water. And of course, you know, la mer, Mary, like, you know, like maritime language is based around the name Mary. And la mer, like the mum.
Yeah.
Mum, Mary, and the sea. I don't know if I believe in the collective feminines, you know, in the same way as everyone else, but I really see that water is what makes us like we've got water and air, you know, or water and earth, you know, we've got these elements, but I really think the element of water is the healing, you know, that it's in the waters. And when we think about consciousness, all living beings have water in them.
Yeah.
And when a plant can't keep its water, it dries up, it dies, it's gone. You know, without water, like, you know, eventually we all kind of dry up, don't we? We can't process that water. We can't hold that water anymore, you know, and water's in the air, you know, it's dispersed around, you know, water's everywhere. And I wonder if water is consciousness, water is life. And I'm wondering if that is also the divine feminine.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, well, they know that water holds memory, don't they?
We're kept in water, aren't we? You know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And water holds memory, and it also holds experiences and things. Yeah, you're right. And then with the lunar link with the tides, and the feminine is considered to be lunar, isn't it? Yeah, definitely something to do with water. But I hadn't thought about it that, like Ma and Mary. I hadn't thought about like that before.
Exactly. Like you've got Ma, Mare, Mary.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, and also interestingly with like Christianity, you've got the symbol of the fish.
Yeah.
In the water.
Yeah.
And you know, like when we have our periods, we have our menstruation, but babies are literally kept in water.
Yeah. Until they're ready to enter the world, aren't they?
Yes. And then when you look at birthing language, like you birth, people come aboard, like like you birth a ship, like it's all related to maritime. And so I wonder if the divine feminine is actually the water and the divine masculine is the air. Because they can't fully ever beat each other. I know I said there's water droplets in the air, like microscopic ones, but like air and water are two distinct things. They separate out. Water's down below, air's up here. They're always interacting together, but never. And you know, obviously I'm not a scientist or anything, but I just think like the water is where the emotions are and the psyche, and the air is where the logic and the rationality and maybe the masculine. And so it's interesting seeing that chart of your great grandmother. She had a lot of water, like she had that sort of like water, Mars, that badass
fire,
Mars, and Jupiter, and you know, that water. And then she had air, a lot of air in there as well. It's interesting that you said you've got an astrologer friend that says we're coming into a time of the divine feminine. I don't see that so much with the astrology, because all the outer planets are going to be in air and fire signs, and they're all associated with the masculine. But I do think, you know, the air and the fire are going to be doing such a rapid transformation that whatever has been will be turned on its head.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, because at the time I wasn't like really looking into astrology, but she was kind of looking forward to 2020 and seeing that because I was already, before 2020, I was already quite kind of not unsettled, but like I could sense that something was coming. And it was just a comment that she made, and she didn't quantify why she said that, but that's just how she felt from interpreting what she was looking at. But I do feel like there's kind of like two sides, isn't there? There's like people that think that we're having the emancipation of women and think that's a good thing, in like the whole feminism stuff, which I don't think I am a feminist. I believe that we should have equal rights. I believe that we should be equal, but I also believe that we are not like men. We are separate, and we have our own specific roles here on earth, as do men. And yes, there can be males that have more of a feminine influence and vice versa. But it's very obviously structurally different too, isn't it? Right? We're born into this human meat suit for a reason. And I do think
that can allow a child to birth. It's very different. Our shape.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that women should be able to work. I think that women should be able to stay at home if they want to. And I think the struggle is in the balance, isn't it? And having the opportunity to be able to be balanced, because the society that we live in at the moment, where we have to work, most women I know have to work. They might not need, want to, but they have to. And that in itself is just taking you away from your core self in some ways. But then also, like, I know that I always wanted to be a nurse, and that was my purpose, to help people in health, to be of service. I knew always from a very young age, but even doing that has taken me away from the other side of that more nurturing, mothering side that I need to be. I mean, I can still do that, but it's restricting me, because I have to work a certain amount of hours and earn a certain amount of money to be able to live. So I don't know what the answer is with that, really. But
I don't know. I mean, that's how I came to work from home, because and I was very lucky that when I became a mum, Carl, my husband, he had a job and it came with accommodation. So our accommodation was covered and his earnings could support us, and that gave me a lovely
cushion
to be able to stay at home with our firstborn, and I could breastfeed on demand. And once we started doing that, I was like, I'm not going back to work. And I did actually do some work. I used to work as a freelance trainer, and I charged quite a good day rate at that point. And so I would work for 3 days, but Carl and our son would come with us. We'd all stay in a hotel, and Carl would walk up and down the canal bank in London while I was delivering training. And I was very fortunate that the company that I was delivering training for would allow me to have 4 breaks. And so he'd deliver the baby and I'd be breastfeeding.
And give baby back.
And I would see him walk up and down the canal with our baby in a papoose and a sling. And so that worked. But eventually, I stopped working. But then, we needed money. And that's when I started to pick up my astrology again, and do it from home. I'm really grateful.
Maybe when you're doing something you enjoy as a career, like the split is easier. It's when you're doing something that is either the hours are way too much or you've got too much load. And I think that's a problem with a lot of women at the moment, is it's not just the mental load, but it's like when you're working and you have got family as well, then that is quite a lot to juggle if you don't have a supportive partner that's there to pick up the rest, or to be able to balance and support things. But interesting times
to hear, the struggles that people go through. Like I say, I was really, really lucky that it just happened that way, because if not, I would have been going back and doing training. A lot of it. I think
working from home allows you that flexibility to at least be there in presence, isn't it? Like physical presence.
And because I was an older mum, I still am an older mum, but because I was an older mum, I had a few different career skills up my sleeve. So I had a little bit more choice and had a few more contacts, which was helpful. But if I'd gone into motherhood, 15, 20 years before, it'd have been a very different story for me. I know that for sure. I mean, bless everyone. I think anyone that becomes a parent, I mean, they're on for the ride of their life, aren't they?
But it's a great learning experience, I think. Being a parent, and I learn things about myself every day, And I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? We're here to learn, and we're here to grow, and we're here to change things and mix things up, and have lots of experiences in this human meat suit that we're in.
Yeah, it's all not.
Okay, so I think we'll probably wrap up now, because I've got an appointment at 12.
Yeah.
But is there anything you wanted to add about, like, things that helped you on your kind of journey along the way, or insights that you've had recently about yourself or about clients or anything like that?
Biggest one, it's such a good question, and thanks for asking, is you can't control anyone. And so you know, I get a lot of people who are in pain and who feel victimized because something's not fair. You know, they've experienced something that's not fair, and they've not been able to move beyond it. And I picked up lots and lots of clients that were experiencing this because it's something that's playing on in my life.
Yeah,
I've always felt into that's not fair, or I've been misjudged, I've been misunderstood, and those things, like things that aren't fair, really really captured me. I realized, being like, I think I'm a natural people pleaser. I'm sure that's part of my programming, but I also think that, sorry, part of my nature, but I also think I developed people pleasing as well, because I couldn't control what was going on around me, and I wanted to feel a little bit more comfortable, and so I became extra nice and extra helpful. And then at some point along the way, I didn't know what was really me being nice and what was actually me forcing being nice. And I've learnt to my I would say to my detriment, but actually it still helped me to learn this in a painful way. I realized that bending over backwards for people and not knowing where I should have boundaries, not knowing that, has come from a pain and has come from trauma that I was unable to deal with. And so it was a painful learning. But what I realized in the process was, people are free to dislike me if they don't like me. That's absolutely fine. But for years and years and years, I thought, that's so unfair. I'm so nice. I don't deserve not to be liked. And I just couldn't get over it. And really, when I go back to it, I think it's that the early on wound, it's always a mum and dad wound, nearly always, you know, where I felt very different to my family. I know it's ridiculous, you know, that you might feel different because you've got different color hair, but I was very sort of really sort of carrot colored, very different coloring to my parents. I had a limp as a child. I wore national health glasses. I was really skinny, really intelligent and bright, and I just didn't fit into my family at all. People would say, who do you belong to? I now can see I look just like my dad. It's really obvious he's my dad. But growing up feeling different, but not having the comfort in being different, was a real difficulty for me. And so I fought against that, fought to be liked, to my detriment, because I didn't become myself. And it's only in recent years, you know, I had some very good teachers in the shape of bullies who lied about me, you know about them, who really tested me in a really nasty way. But I needed that to show me that actually it's okay that people don't like you. You don't have to fight for it. And in allowing people to have their own version of me, it's now giving me permission to have my own version of life too. It's freed me up. Since I've done that, it's been very helpful. And you know, I think I've been able to help more clients. It's a really painful lesson, isn't it, when you realize that you're not liked for actually no good reason other than someone's got some hurt that is triggered by seeing you.
And we do that quite a lot, don't we, as Scorpio Rising?
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Well, look, if you've got Uranus anywhere near your ascendant or your descendant, or you've got
conjunct my ascendant.
I mean, you've got your moon on your descendant as well. Like, you are a natural trigger to people. You know, and I feel like I'm a natural catalyst for people, and you know, we all change when we come together.
I think what's tricky about that is, like, if I do feel like someone's been triggered by me, like you said, I had to learn to not be upset by that, because I know that I wasn't trying to trigger that person.
Yes.
Like in fact, I've gone out of my way not to do that. Like you say, we're being a people pleaser and trying to keep the peace, which is a stress response, because it's like that fawn response of, I don't want to feel the kind of byproduct of this, so I'm going to just try and keep everybody happy. And always try and be kind of non-controversial, and just because I don't want to trigger people, because then I feel that they're feeling bad about me, when actually what they should be feeling about is why they felt so triggered in the first place. And that has definitely been a learning thing for me too. Like, you know, I'm sorry if I trigger you, I'm not meaning to.
Same here.
And I'm not being mean, I'm actually always doing it from a place from the heart. And it might just be like, and sometimes I'm quite self-conscious about that, because afterwards I think, oh, did I say that? Would that have upset them? And I didn't really mean to upset them.
Like, I want to put in an apology, because when I was talking about, you know, my parents putting me in a different room, I realized, God, if anyone did that to their child, they're going to feel really attacked by me, or they could feel that I'm judging them badly, when I was just judging my parents badly. I think everyone's situation's different, but you know, it's really hard to express yourself without upsetting anyone. And I don't mean to comment, you know, or judge people in a bad way from me commenting on my own experience. I really don't want to upset anyone.
No, but I think also, you know, that actually sharing that actually probably helps many more people than it does trigger them. And if it does trigger them and they do the work, it's actually a beneficial thing, isn't it?
Do you know what? Go on.
No, it's like poking a bruise sometimes, isn't it? It's like,
well, last night I received an email from somebody, and I'd worked with them. I couldn't remember having worked with them, and I might have blocked it out. So I went back through the email stream, and this person just sent me this random email last night and said, I just wanted to let you know that your reading for me, your consultation, really is great, and it is really applicable now, and I'm sorry that I didn't feel that straight away. What she said was, I'm going through some changes, and you know, now I can really listen to it, and I'm re-listening to it, and I'm re-listening to it, and it makes sense. And it obviously didn't so many months ago. And she wasn't rude, but it was very obvious to read between the lines that she really didn't like what I'd said.
Well, it probably triggered her into thinking, well, I'm not like that. That's not who I am, or that doesn't seem relevant to me. But then, like, almost the universe will show you a way to kind of show you the mirror, isn't it? It's like a mirror.
I was really grateful that she did that, and I realized I've been that person. I remember once being outraged. I spent a lot of money having a tarot reading in London with this really famous tarot reader, and you know, I wanted to know when love was coming in, and he said, oh, not until you're 36. And I was like 28 at the time. And I was like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Like, crap. And the funny thing is, it was exactly when I met my husband.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Then you only probably like 8 years later thought he was right?
Yeah.
When it happened. Like, okay.
I can't even remember his name now. Maybe I need to send him a little message and say, 8 years ago, I got really upset by one of your readings.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because I've definitely triggered a few clients with, I don't know if it was the way I presented, and I've been much more mindful about how I present things as I've gone through, but like triggered a thing to them thinking that it feels negative, like, and that almost like you shouldn't look at the negative aspects of yourself. Like, we should all be focusing on the positives. But I know very well that shadow work is very much looking at your negative and your shadow stuff so that you can let the light back in again. You know, and sometimes it is like deeply painful to admit that you may have behaved in a certain way, or you may have acted, you know, in a circumstance that may not have been for your higher good, but for other people's higher good too. I mean, I know that I can go to bed at night and think, I never intentionally try to upset anybody. Like, I never try to cause anybody pain. I never try to intentionally do that. And I know that I can say that in my heart, but I've never tried to, do you know what I mean? Like, actually,
I can't. I wish I could say that. There are times when I've there are times when I feel attacked.
Yeah.
You know, as a child, I did. You know, I said some mean stuff to my parents.
Yeah, but did you
Because I felt so
intentionally
attacked.
do it to hurt them? Or
Well,
did you do it out of a place of hurt?
I did it because I felt hurt and I wanted them to feel some pain.
But I don't know if that's a bad thing, even, because it's like it's
a really natural response.
Yeah.
So like you know, like an animal gets hurt, they bash them back. Now I'm a lot more measured. The only person that I've ever done that to in recent years is my husband. You know, and sometimes we'll say really daft things to each other, but the great news is we trust each other enough that after I say something really ridiculous,
yeah, but even when
we
you
both fall about laughing and we go, oh my God, I can't believe you said that.
But even when you say it, I don't believe that you're intentionally trying to like really get in and hurt that person. You might be trying to trigger a response, but you're not trying to cause them pain. Like,
no, I don't want to cause them pain, but in that moment, I'm not myself. Or actually, no, maybe in that moment, I am more myself. Like an unguarded, hurt person is behind the wheel. And then all of a sudden,
exactly. So there's not an intention. It's not like you want to hurt the other person. You're responding out of pain or fear or your own hurt, aren't you? Like,
it's taken me a long time to see that.
Yeah. Which is a big part of awakening or remembering or healing or whatever you want to call it. A big part of that is recognizing your own actions and that they do come from a place of hurt, and that it's not actually that your intention is to deliberately hurt somebody.
Like when I'm in my right mind, like when I'm not feeling hurt, the worst, it's the last thing on my mind. I would never want to hurt another person at all.
Exactly. So your pure essence doesn't want to hurt, and I believe that for everybody, even psychopaths. I believe even if you took them out of that scenario and you were able to give them love and care and, you know, support that they needed, I'm sure they actually wouldn't actually really want to intentionally want to hurt somebody else. They're acting out of a place of pain and hurt and stuff that's happened to them. But I mean, people might disagree with that, but you know, it's like even narcissists, I've dealt with narcissists before. It does seem like they really want to hurt other people for their own benefit of themselves. But their behavior, their narcissistic behavior developed because of some reason. Like, do you know what I mean? They're coming from a place of hurt. I don't know. It's complex, isn't it?
I mean, that's the great gift I think I've had with astrology, is I get to see different people's charts and I realize everyone is really nice underneath it. Like everyone is human. Everyone like means well. And, you know, like until COVID and the American elections were gaining more interest, I had no idea how any of my customers voted or what their healthcare strategies were.
Exactly.
I had zero idea. And, you know, when people came to me, I just thought, oh, what a lovely person. And I looked at their charts and I can tell you a Trump supporter versus a Democratic supporter.
Okay.
The charts can be very similar. You know, you wouldn't know necessarily the same energy. I mean, there are some markers of people who want things a certain way, you know, and there are certain markers of people who are a lot more free, but you can't tell somebody who's, you know, following a narrative, it's anti-narrative necessarily. And so like you and I, you know, when we're working with people, we're working with the human, not the opinions. And that's, you know, the birth chart gives me that clean slate. I love it.
And I think we are all carrying a lot of ancestral, like not just in this lifetime, our personal personal guilt and shame and all of those negative emotions, but we're carrying that ancestral, like just thousands upon thousands of years of humans being restricted and, you know, forced into this way of life when actually it seems quite like it doesn't feel intuitive the way that we live and the way that people have lived. And that was one of the things I was going to say about the witch trials, is that I was thinking that people used to go and quite enjoy watching the witches be tortured and then killed, because they felt that that was the right thing that they should be doing. And they actually enjoyed to go and stand and watch people be murdered like in front of them because they've been accused of some like really ridiculous thing. And I thought, well, would that happen now? And I was talking to my partner about it, and he said, well, in some countries and some cultures, yes, probably they go and watch people be stoned. But I kind of see that as a little bit of a collective raising consciousness, that we wouldn't tolerate that anymore. We wouldn't want to go and see that happening. But I suppose in a way we still do see it through movies and stuff like that, don't we? It's kind of, it's just not so real. But, and that, you know, I don't think that there are many people that believe that wars are correct and that we should be killing people in the name of war. Except they still happen, don't they? You know, like, I don't think do you think there are many people that actually think that we should go and kill other people because of, you know, land or religion?
I think if we were to look each other in the eyes and say, look, this is the person you're expected to fight, nobody would ever do that.
Yeah.
You know, or like if you met them in a cafe, you'd probably just sit down and have a drink with them. You know, you wouldn't realize, like, we're told who we're meant to fight. We're told who we're meant to get angry at. But yeah, we've got so much more in common with each other. I just think all of these scraps, you know, like all of these fights that we're sort of encouraged into are manufactured to create that that disintegration of us as humans, and it stops us from being feminine. You know, like we can only really be these amazing women tuned into our intuition, our caring, our healing, our compassion, when we've got strong men around us that are actually saying, no, it's okay. We need the male peacemakers as much as we need the female peacemakers.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, without each other we can't do it. And of course men can't stand strong when we're all being these strong women. They don't have animals to chase and kill. They don't
it's true, isn't it? We need each other.
Again, I could be offending somebody, you know, who is really sort of drawn into the strong feminine archetype of being able to have it all. I've not managed it, you know, like to be able to work and be a mum. I'm really like frustrated by the balance. I don't get it right. But, you know, if, you know, there was, I mean, I was looking, sorry, I know you got to go, but I was looking at all the photos around Halloween and All Saints Day. I always talk to my kids and to my husband and talk to my ancestors and really try and celebrate it. And so I said to my dad, I couldn't find any of my photos. Can you send me a load of photos? And so these stream of photos came of my great grandmother, both of them, you know, or some of them, you know, I've got like loads of generational photos and the stories. You know, I've got a great uncle that went off to war, never came back, body never found. And these were just people that were told to fight. They were told who to fight, where to fight, but it wasn't their war.
Yeah, well, and that's why I think I'm doing some work with veterans at the moment, or leading up to working with veterans with PTSD. And I think that's why so many struggle, because they have an idea that they should protect and serve their country. And then when they go into conflict, they see things that are just so against the human condition and that what humans actually want to do. And that compounded with all the stress and fear and everything else, and, you know, the conditioning that they have and the stuff that they even get put through in training and things like that, it leads them to have this super heightened sense of their fight flight. And then they're also at the same time, whether they're consciously doing it or not, they've got this fight between, should we be doing what we're doing? And, you know, is this against my core soul, my heart? Like, do I really want to be fighting and killing other people? And that's why we have so many issues with veterans that are struggling, like really struggling. Don't think it's just because of the fact that they've, you know, their sympathetic response has been so heightened. Part of that is that, but part of it is that we're going against what we really deeply in our soul believe. And I think that particularly the last 2,000 years have all been about kind of severing that connection to our soul and to our purpose and to our pureness and our divinity. And even though we've had all of these religions kind of control everything, that in itself has been trying to remove us from that.
Religion doesn't give you divinity. Divinity is something you do, help guide you, but it's something you feel in yourself. And you're right. We have like had that separation from soul self, We've not known who we are. And I think that's why the mother-child relationship has been severed as much as possible. You know, like, what's the first thing that we're encouraged to do when we give birth to our babies is to hand over, like in America, for instance.
And
cut the cord, hand the baby over to get their first jabs in America. Again, I'm not commenting on the right or wrongness of it, but like, it's like in our first moments of being parents, we're encouraged that other people know better than we do for our kids. And that in itself is severing that link.
Severing intuition, instinct, all of those things.
I remember
connection.
having to take my son for a well woman's kind of like a mother and baby, like doctor meeting, nurse meeting, whatever it was, every week for months and months and months, until I was signed off that our baby was like the right size. And it took 18 months. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with the process at all. And I don't know why I went along with it, because I thought it was mandatory. I thought I had no choice. And yeah, maybe I might have been called up. Why are you not looking after your child? But, you know, I went dutifully. And some of the stuff they were saying was that's utter bullshit. You know, like there was one week when they had a locum nurse in and they measured our son and weighed him, and they got the measurements wrong. And all of a sudden they said, oh, your son has got much bigger and he's much heavier. Then when I went to my following meeting, of course, he was just the same size. And they said, he's shrunk and he's lost weight. I was like, no, he hasn't shrunk and lost weight. He's wearing bigger nappies. No, he's definitely shrunk and lost weight. I said, no, it's not happened. And they were like, well, you have to come back. You now need to stop breastfeeding him because it's obviously not working. You're going to have to feed him on solids, blah, blah, blah. I went in a week later. He was, you know, still on the same line he was always on. And they said, oh, we're really glad you took our advice and stopped breastfeeding him and gave him solids. And I kind of said, oh, so you're signing me off then? And they signed me off. And then I walked out the door, and just like that rebel in me, just as I got to the door, I said, you know, it's really funny that you say it was the food that boosted him up. I haven't actually given him any food. He's still exclusively on the breast.
Yeah.
Mrs. Tanner, Miss Tanner, because I wasn't married at that point. Come back here, and like, he's not signed off. We need to see him again. And I was like, oh my God, why did I say that? Yeah. And by the time I had the next baby, she went to like 3 meetings, and then I never saw him again. My last child didn't take him in at all. I was like, no, I don't need you to like ruffle my feathers as a mum. Thank you very much.
Well, it erodes your own confidence in yourself as well, doesn't it? And trust. And I think the paternalistic medical service that we've got has played a big part in us not trusting our own autonomy.
Yeah.
Because from the moment you're born, your health and responsibility is kind of deferred to somebody else who hasn't got any connection with you at all. Like nothing.
You at all.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's a lot of work that's going to be done in the next few decades, probably. But I do see a brighter future, and I do see that people want to be feeling better. They want to be feeling good. They want to be fulfilling their life's purpose. They want to be doing that, and hopefully astrology can help with that. Well, I know it can.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm committed to doing. Exactly what you just described. That's my aim in my work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So healing the healers, so that they can go forth and heal.
Yeah.
And I do think also, just quickly before I have to go, that this advent of AI might actually free up people to be doing more human things, spending more time with human connection. And there's going to be job losses, I'm sure. There's going to be a lot of change, and it could be massively nefarious. We could be all locked in, but I don't believe that is the outcome that's going to happen. I think that there is going to be some kind of big revolution, or maybe it's just happening quietly as we're going through this time, and things will shift and things will change, and we will see a better future for our grandchildren. That's what I hope for our children and our grandchildren. Maybe it won't happen as quickly as I think that we think it will.
Yeah, if only you go.
Yeah, that's done. But then we wouldn't learn, would we? We have to go through it to be able to appreciate it at the end, I guess.
Well, we'll find out soon enough, won't we?
Yeah. Anyway, I better go. So thank you so much for taking the time to
Oh, I've
speak
really
with me
enjoyed
today.
this conversation.
We could probably talk for ages, couldn't we?
Oh, we could matter all day, couldn't we? I've
Yeah.
actually got, a few times that we were actually like talking in a video that might be shared.
Yeah. Well, I probably won't edit it.
talking.
I probably won't edit it. Just put it. Are you happy for it just to go out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'll send it to you, so if you want to put it on your page
Yeah.
as well.
Well,
Thank you very much. And just quickly, for anybody that's listening, you can go to YouTube and follow Feel Good Astrology, or the Barefoot Healers, which is myself and Bo. And how can they contact you have you got an email or website?
Just if you go to www.youtube.com/@Feel Good Astrology. If you search up Feel Good Astrology, all of my details are below there. Yeah, I'm going through some changes at the moment. I've got a school account. It's skool.com, school.com/Feel Good Astrology. That's where I am all the time. So yeah,
and please check Louisa out, because her YouTube videos are easy to understand. They're full of wisdom and intuition as well. And I think that I like the way you lay things out appeals to me very much.
Oh,
because
thank you so much.
I can always see what you're talking about. I like the way that you present all your stuff.
That's your Virgo sun talking.
Yeah, Jen. I know. And I've learned a lot from you, definitely. So,
bless you.
And thank you so much for being present in my life and helping me when I needed it, being that ear to talk me through things and say, well, do it like this, or think about it like this, and your wisdom and just your loveliness, to be honest.
Oh, well, yeah. And I'm like right back at you in that, thank you for your presence here too. Love you so much.
Okay. Take care, honey. Bye. Take care. I'm going to just press stop and then we can chat. Hang on. Manage recording. Stop recording. I'll cut that bit off.